Okay, it's not raining, but it's really cold. But either way, at least I can get some flight in, unless all of a sudden it starts pouring rain. Lots of interesting stuff today too. Somebody getting arrested apparently for flying a drone at a sporting event. I still remember that GoPro crashing in the stadium, but I don't think they actually caught the person. I think I'm finally getting max level in this Pokemon Go game too. It just shows you how much I've been walking. I know some people sit there with the cars and all that, driving around to play this game. For me, it's just walking around all the time. I must be out of the loop on news like this because I read this today. It says, here's why scientists cloned the first cloned dog. I'm like, when was a dog cloned? I think the last one I remember reading was the one about the sheep or something like that. And it made me wonder whether or not people are still freaked out about stuff like this, because I thought this was supposed to be the big issue before, about people cloning things, and they're worried people will do this on humans and all that, so they're trying to ban it. I don't know if that's still the case right now. Because it says here, scientists have cloned the world's first cloned dog in order to study these reclones to determine whether they die sooner or age quicker than their non-cloned counterparts. Because apparently that sheep died at a quote young age, so they're wondering if it was due to that cloning process. Now this is a controversial issue, I would say. I don't know, in comparison to the drones, I'm surprised people aren't paying more attention to stuff like this instead. Actually, it makes me wonder, in terms of fear and safety, in the future, would you be more worried about a swarm of drones coming and, I don't know, blowing things up? Or would you be more concerned about some evil, I don't know, world leader having thousands and millions of cloned people doing their biddings? I'm waiting for Hollywood to come true, where you can start cloning, quote, dinosaurs from their DNAs and all that. So if you guys remember about that story I talked about a few days ago, how apparently in the east of Canada, they're thinking of having drones fly around the HOV lane areas to see who is breaking the law to give them tickets. And today I just read this one. It actually showed a picture of what that drone looked like. And it says here, Skyguys, a Canadian UAV service developer and provider, has landed a $750,000 project to work with NVIDIA, IBM, and the University of Toronto on an artificial intelligence enabled drone solution to monitor Ontario's 400 series highways in response to vehicle occupancy detention problem statement. And apparently they did a little morning talk show, I believe, just to talk a bit about it. So it's kind of interesting to see how they address the issues of, well, how does this thing track people, the privacy concerns and all that. So you guys can see it here.
Well, you soon may have to check your blind spot to make sure there's no drones in your way. Ontario's Ministry of Transportation has teamed up with Toronto-based drone company Skyguys to test AI-enabled drones that will monitor HOV and HOT lanes.
Right, so the basic idea here is we're looking at individuals driving in HOV or high-occupancy tolling lanes that don't have enough people inside their cars. So these drones will fly off to the side of the road and take views from the front side and back of these cars, identify the number of people, and then issue fines accordingly.
I've also heard that they'll be able to watch for distracted driving as well. Is that the case?
That is a possibility for the future, but right now our first focus is enforcement for HOV.
There's still a number of regulatory challenges you have to overcome,
That's
right?
correct, both on the privacy and the flight side.
Now, the issue of privacy has been raised.
Yeah.
A lot of people not really comfortable with drones looking inside their cars, seeing what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say about that is, in terms of the way that the technology will be designed and operated, be similar to with red light cameras. So if, for example, your car's been taken, a photo's been taken of your car, but it's not really going to lead to any sort of HOV ticket, that data will not be stored, it will be tossed out. And before any information whatsoever gets handed over to the government for the sake of issuing a fine, that data will be censored. Faces blurred, kind of the black strips over eyes. Our priority here is privacy and safety.
So just to be clear, there'll be a few over a couple of years to give this a go.
Yep.
And where they're not going to be right beside your window.
Most definitely not.
Where they're on the side of the highway, a couple hundred feet?
A couple hundred meters away, in fact, and
100
also
meters?
another couple hundred meters up. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So kind of interesting, according to that, they still have to keep their distance, so they'll be really far away, so they won't be flying like right into the, or right next to the people rather. At the same time, it says in terms of the picture, I guess it takes non-stop pictures, but then if it has no use, then they'll delete it, according to that anyways. Does that make people scared, or people are gonna say, yeah, that's just the way it is? It kind of makes me think though still whether or not it's something like a really high def 360 camera with sophisticated AI would be better. I mean, there's even some countries where there's cameras that can determine or try to determine, like we read before, how they think this guy's gonna shoplift or something like that. So imagine having something like that just stationary there. I would imagine that's a lot more efficient than having something fly back and forth. All right, let's try capturing some stuff. I'm actually trying a new hard case for the Mavic Pro. Kind of looks like this. Didn't pack everything in there, just wanted to see what it's like in terms of if it's heavy or not compared to what I used before. It's actually a lot smaller, but this one's actually in hard case. So my mindset was I could use it to put the drone in there and as well maybe use it as a launch pad too if I wanted to. Okay, that was kind of cool. I bumped into the guy who got the drone for the company. He was flying a Phantom and they were doing agriculture. He was saying he had to actually convince the company to use the drone. And it was kind of cool. I was basically just talking to him, educating him a bit about the filters and stuff. It's kind of interesting, just even for myself, to show how much I've learned over like just a year or so about the filters, the picture quality, the settings. And we were even talking about saying whether or not for him, from his experience flying the drone, whether or not people come up to him and they're afraid, like, oh no, like get this thing down, it's gonna crash. From his experience, it's kind of like mine. Basically, when people come up to you, they're really curious, they want to be educated about it. It's kind of interesting because educating that person just about everything about the flying, the modes, the filters makes me think maybe I should make some more videos or something like that, just with drone flying tutorials. Because I know even for me when I started, it wasn't that easy to find. And especially with drones, like not everyone has the same equipment. So it's good to kind of have something, I guess, out there. Something to think about. So the news I read about the drone, it says here, man suspected of flying drone over 49ers Raiders games arrested. Drone dropped political flyers at Levi Stadium, Oakland Coliseum. A Sacramento man suspected of flying a drone over Levi Stadium and Oakland Coliseum on Sunday and dropping leaflets in the venues during NFL games was arrested and later released by authorities. It says on the leaflets there was a rant against television news, according to the police. I guess he just hates mainstream media. I guess that's what the pamphlets were. I would imagine in the US that violates a lot of stuff, but it says here specifically, Levi Stadium sits in a flight path to Minado San Jose Airport. Santa Clara police are investigating Mapes for possible FAA violations. I would assume it is if you're flying over people, like dropping stuff. I was even thinking when people saw that, they probably thought it was part of the event in the stadium, wouldn't you? If you just saw things flying randomly, like the drone dropping things for you, you'd be like, free gifts! And it says here on how they caught him, with the help of video surveillance outside the stadium, the police officers working the game quickly identified Mapes as a suspect. So it didn't look like they were using anything like GPS tracking or anything like that. They just used, I guess, kind of profile building. Would that be the right way to say it? It says, we knew the Raiders game was going on, Marino said. We always look for common acts in the area. Once we had an idea who he was, we felt there was a good possibility he would try this somewhere else. Like I would say there, that is stupid. Doing something like that as drone fly. Like that, you should get permission and stuff to do. Well, in many ways, that should be case closed, which I guess it is. One thing that got a reaction out of me were the comments. Because for things like the drone flyers, I always said I think there's like a stigma with it, for example, where people need to be educated and the more people that use it in some way, the better. Because this guy's comment, like I guess looking at the mugshot, the guy says, haha, yup, the face fits the profile. Definitely looks like a drone enthusiast. Funny how often stereotypes are correct. It's like, how does a drone flyer look like normally? Isn't it everyone that flies a drone? A kid, a mom, a dad, a professional, a hobbyist? How can you stereotype people if there is a stereotype of how a drone flyer looks? Holy smokes. Is there like a certain age bracket, a certain profession of people that fly drones? Are they a quote criminal, someone with a grumpy look because they got busted? I know for me, I'm kind of used to these kind of, I guess, what would you call it? Ignorant, is that the right way to say it? Ignorant people out there that don't really understand like a certain topic, so they'll prejudge people based on what they see in the sensational news or say in the movies. But that's just an example of how more people need to be educated. What the heck, a ho-oh? Maybe that's the perfect way to get to level 40 in this game. Alright, here we go. No time to change all my Pokemon. That was super messy, but I did it. Oh, a capture! And this will bring me to the level 40. Makes me think of that stereotype too with the drone flyers. How is a quote gamer supposed to look normally? The stereotype is a gamer, you can't be athletic, you probably can't hike like a mountain, yet I do all that stuff, right? So hopefully people just open up their mind. That's why I encourage people to try to explore as much as possible, because you just learn so much exploring different cultures and events. Here's my drone footage for the day too, and that phantom that I saw, I caught a little bit of it. Alright, see you guys later.